Graham Hawke's Underwater Pilot. Page 3. Dreams of Flying. Graham Hawkes was born in London, England in 1947. It was just 2 years after the end of the Second World War, and in those days, pilots were heroes. Like many children, Hawkes loved aeroplanes, which had played such an important role in the war. He not only built models, he dreamed of designing new planes. As Hawkes himself remembers, "I dreamed of the pioneering era of aviation when you'd build a plane in the back garden from string and canvas, and for a few weeks fly faster than anyone else." Graham Hawkes, whose first love was airplanes, built models like the one above, and hoped to design aircraft one day. Page 4. As he grew up, Hawkes discovered another love, tinkering with things, taking them apart and putting them back together. These two loves, tinkering and airplanes, came together and shaped Hawkes' life and career. Unfortunately, his grades weren't good enough to get him into a top aerospace school. Hawkes decided to become a mechanical engineer. As a young engineer, Hawkes always felt disappointed that he had not been born 50 years earlier. Then he could have designed and flown the first airplanes. But Hawkes found another field where he could be a pioneer: ocean exploration. In the 1970s, he worked on improving the atmospheric diving system, or JIM, suit. One of his improvements was a clear domed helmet, which replaced the small windows on the original JIM suit helmet. Frustrated when he couldn't find support for his new ideas, Graham Hawkes founded his own engineering technology company. He began to design underwater vehicles called submersibles. When Hawkes started, underwater vehicles were not very advanced. Some of them were still made of wood and iron. The early submersibles were designed to go straight down in the water and then come straight back up. Hawkes' submersibles moved vertically through the water, through the use of weights or ballast. Their seats held people rigidly upright. Also, the submersibles were dependent on a mothership or surface ship. The mothership would provide air and communications to the submersible through cables. Hawkes saw that there was plenty of room for improvement. When Hawkes began to design submersibles, his love of flight came in handy. He was fascinated by the idea of flying underwater, so he added wings, allowing the submersible to move through the water almost like a plane flying through the air. With his new designs, Hawkes' submersibles would have the same advantage airplanes have over balloons and airships. They would be quick, mobile, and easy to control. The picture on the right is Hawkes' deep flight submersible, contains some aircraft features such as wings. Page 6. This young grey whale is shown breaching. Hawkes noted that whales often rested underwater in this upright position, then moved easily as he wanted his submersibles to do. Hawkes' designs were also inspired by what he saw under the water. He loved watching animals move in the sea. He remembered the first time he saw a whale underwater. He had been puzzled. While waiting for its companion, the whale was resting under the surface, but it was vertical. Its head was up and its tail was down. This made Hawkes think differently about how manned crafts should travel underwater. Hawkes thought about how moving in the water was different from moving on land. He noticed how freely the whales moved in the weightlessness of the deep. Whales could rest upright for a time, then turn and dive in any direction. Maybe humans should move more like whales when we enter the sea, he thought. Because people are affected by Earth's gravity, they have a fixed idea of up and down. But in the ocean, many forms of life that move through the water are not concerned with remaining upright. Hawkes thought that it would be more natural for people to lie horizontally in the water, and Hawkes wanted a craft that would not just go down. He wanted one that would move freely through the water. He designed a streamlined craft with short, stubby wings like an underwater airplane. It could move quickly through the water, steering easily in any direction. He called his submersible Deep Flight. Seeking a way to travel as naturally as possible underwater, Hawkes added another feature to Deep Flight. He made the front end out of thick, clear plastic. Once in the water, there seemed to be almost nothing between the pilot and the sea. Hawkes describes it as a magical feeling. You are simply there, underwater, dry, safe, comfortable, able to zoom any which way, he said. Page 8. Deep Flight in the Sea. By 1996, after years of development, Hawkes was ready to test Deep Flight. Would Deep Flight live up to Hawkes' hopes? Up until that time, the craft had performed well in its tests, but those tests came in protected waters. Now it was time to take Deep Flight into the open ocean. Hawkes headed for the warm, clear waters off Mexico's Pacific coast. If Hawkes had any worries about Deep Flight's performance, they dissolved when he launched the craft in the water. He had pictured the moment in his mind for years. Now, for Graham Hawkes, it was a reality. I was in heaven, twisting and turning, pure flying. Deep Flight really did fly like an underwater airplane. Deep Flight is designed to carry one diver. Page 9. The picture shows an Atlantic manta ray as seen from below. As he glided along, Hawkes looked up and saw one of the giant manta rays that live in those seas. Manta rays are huge, flat fish with long tails. Hawkes awed as the ray used its broad wings to swoop gracefully through the water. He also had his doubts about how the ray would react. Would it simply turn its back on the craft and fly away? Would it sense us from a distance and simply never allow us to come close? Page 10. Hawkes at his drafting table with his submersible designs. Hawkes watched the great ray, then gently steered toward it. His meeting with the manta was like a dance. We would pass slowly, courteously, eyeing each other, and slide apart as if we were indifferent. Then we would both turn simultaneously, just before we would have lost sight of each other, and fly lazily back for another look. Not too eagerly. Deep Flight and the manta ray continued their dance until Hawkes decided to let the ray move on alone. He cut the forward power, and Deep Flight slowed suddenly. Then Hawkes watched as the giant manta ray passed over the submersible, almost enveloping Deep Flight with its broad wings. Page 11. Deep Flight number 2. Deep Flight proved a success, but Hawkes set his sights even lower. Though he claimed the world record for the deepest solo dive at 3,000 feet, Hawkes wanted to go further. The deepest point in any of the oceans is more than 36,000 feet below the surface, in an area called the Marianas Trench. It is a dark, unknown place. No one had visited the Marianas Trench since 1960, when Swiss designer Jacques Piccard and U.S. Navy Lieutenant Don Walsh went down in the submersible Trieste. The research submarine Trieste is hoisted from the water. Page 12. The Marianas Trench stretches deeper below sea level than the height of Mount Everest pictured above. Page 13. From the shipyard control room, Sylvia Earle collects data from an undersea robot. Hawkes is preparing his new craft, Deep Flight 2, to make the journey. He and marine biologist Sylvia Earle will take his new craft down into the trench. The mission is called Ocean Everest. That is because the bottom of the Marianas Trench is even deeper below sea level than the summit of Mount Everest is above sea level. page 14. This deep-sea anglerfish larva hatches from a large yolky egg. At 36,000 feet deep, the pressure of water is incredible. All the weight of the water above presses against the craft with a force of 8 tons per square inch. Deep flight was made with materials that could stand up to pressure at 3,000 feet, but Deep Flight 2 uses super strong ceramics developed by the U.S. Navy Research and Development Labs to survive the pressure at the bottom of the ocean. When Deep Flight 2 is finished, Graham Hawkes hopes it will be able to fly to the bottom of the ocean in about an hour. This will give Hawkes and Earl plenty of time to explore once they reach the bottom. Page 15. Scientists know little about what exists down there. They don't know if fish or other underwater animals thrive in these deep conditions. They do know that because no light from the surface can reach those depths, it will be very dark. Deep ocean floors may be the last frontier on Earth to explore. Scientists are as excited about it as they are about exploring space. But like outer space, the deep ocean is a difficult challenge. Hawkes reminds himself, the deep ocean can be a dangerous, dark, inaccessible, and inhospitable place for humans. Still, he is eager to go there. Picture on the left. This black sea dragon has a lure in its mouth to attract prey. Picture at the bottom. The elephant fish has a trunk-like snout that detects prey on the deep sea bottom. Page 16. Submersibles like Deep Flight 2 should get plenty of use in the coming years. Though water covers more than 70% of the Earth's surface, people have explored less than 5% of the ocean's depths. If Hawkes has his way, ordinary people as well as scientists will be able to travel and explore beneath the sea. He is devoted to opening up the ocean for humans to explore. New worlds are waiting to be discovered there. Who knows what people will find? Hawkes explains, underwater flight for me is no longer a dream. In fact, I cannot now imagine a future where humans will not be as free in the water as they are in the air. Final picture. A diver emerges from the tight quarters of the Deep Flight submersible. Thank you for listening.